My friend, you have asked a question of magnificent depth. It is a query that cuts through the fog of daily trivialities and arrives at the very heart of existence, the relationship between time, wisdom, and human potential. To imagine oneself at the sunset of life, possessing all its hard-won knowledge, and then to be placed once more at the dawn, at the tender age of 18, is not an idle fantasy. It is the ultimate thought experiment. It is a question that, if truly pondered, can unlock the chains of regret and unleash the sleeping giant that lies dormant within every soul. You ask what changes I would make. Let me tell you, the changes would not be small adjustments. They would not be about choosing a different career path or investing in a particular stock. Those are merely the fruits. I would go directly to the root of the tree itself. I would initiate a complete and total revolution, not in the world outside of me, but in the world within me. The first, most immediate, and most profound change would be the seizure of absolute, unwavering control over my own mind. An 18-year-old believes his thoughts are reactions to the world. A 70-year-old knows that his world is a reaction to his thoughts. The very moment I found myself in that youthful body, with the wisdom of 7 decades lighting my way, my first action would be to declare my mental independence. I would build a fortress around my mind, with gates that open only to thoughts of purpose, faith, and courage. I would post a vigilant guard at the door of my consciousness, tasked with one solemn duty, to turn away, without exception, every single thought rooted in the 6 basic fears that poison human life: the fear of poverty, of criticism, of ill health, of the loss of love, of old age, and of death. At 18, these fears are like ghosts in the dark, shapeless yet terrifying, subtly directing one's decisions and paralyzing one's ambitions. But with the clarity of age, I would see them for what they are: mere phantoms, illusions born of ignorance and indecision, powerless before a mind that refuses to entertain them. I would understand from the very first breath of my new youth that thoughts are things. They are the most potent, organized form of energy known to man. Every thought you hold and emotionalize is a command sent to your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind is a faithful, tireless servant that works day and night to translate that command into its physical reality. So, if my very first act would be to take command of my mental kingdom, what would be the first decree issued from that throne? It would be this: the immediate, crystal-clear definition of a definite chief aim. A 70-year-old man knows one thing with a certainty that burns like the sun. Time is the one and only commodity that cannot be replaced. It is the raw material out of which all achievement is fashioned. An 18-year-old lives as though he has an infinite supply of it. He drifts. He experiments without purpose. He waits for life to happen to him. This, I now know, is the most tragic waste in the universe. So I would not waste a single week, not a single day. In my first 24 hours, I would seclude myself with a pen and a blank sheet of paper, and I would not emerge until I had answered the most important question of my life: what do I want? Not a vague desire like, I want to be successful, or I want to be rich. Those are not goals. They are daydreams. A goal, my friend, must be definite. I would write it down. I will have in my possession a certain amount of money by a certain date. I will have achieved a specific position in a specific industry. I will provide a specific service in return for this. It would be precise, measurable, and bound by time. A vague wish is a ship without a rudder, a target for the winds of circumstance. A definite chief aim is a powerful magnet. The moment it is fixed in the mind, it begins to attract every single element, every opportunity, every person necessary for its fulfillment. My mind, now fortified against fear and doubt, would have a singular mission. It would no longer be a passive receiver of whatever the world threw at it. It would become a seeking missile, programmed for a specific target. This single act, the creation of a definite purpose, would instantly differentiate me from 98% of the people on this earth who are simply drifting through life without a destination. This alone would guarantee a level of success that others only dream of. The world makes way for the man who knows where he is going. And with the wisdom of age, I would not just know where I was going. I would burn with an unquenchable desire to get there. Desire is the starting point of all achievement. Not a hope, not a wish, but a keen, pulsating desire which transcends everything. It would be the fuel for my journey, the fire in my soul. I would read my written aim aloud every morning upon waking and every night before sleeping, seeing, feeling, and believing myself already in possession of it. I would turn my goal from a mere intellectual idea into an all-consuming obsession. With my purpose set and my mind focused, my next profound change would be in my approach to education. At 18, I, like most young men, saw education as a period of compulsory instruction that ended with a diploma. It was a chore to be completed. With the wisdom of age, I would understand that a diploma is not an end, but a mere beginning. Formal schooling gives you a set of basic tools, but true education is the lifelong process of acquiring specialized knowledge and organizing it into definite plans of action for the attainment of your definite purpose. It is self-directed. It is relentless. I would not wait to be taught. I would set out to learn. I would identify the exact knowledge I needed to achieve my definite chief aim. If I wished to be a leader in the nascent automobile industry, I would learn everything about engineering, about manufacturing, about finance, about marketing. I would not limit my learning to classrooms. My university would be the world itself. I would devour books. I would seek out and study the great minds of my time. At 18, with the knowledge of a 70-year-old, I would have the boldness to seek an audience with men like Henry Ford or Thomas Edison. I wouldn't ask them for a job. I would ask them for wisdom. I would offer to work for them for free, to sweep the floors of their factories simply to be in their presence, to observe their habits, to study their minds in action. True education is not about how much you know. It is about knowing where to acquire the knowledge you need when you need it, and how to organize that knowledge into a practical plan. The world pays for one thing and one thing only: applied knowledge. Knowledge by itself is merely potential power. It becomes power only when and if it is organized into definite plans of action and directed to a definite end. I would become a voracious, lifelong student of my chosen field, but more than that, I would become a master student of human nature. I would study what motivates people, what inspires them, what they fear. I would learn how to lead, how to persuade, how to win cooperation. This kind of education is not found in textbooks. It is found in careful observation, in thoughtful listening, and in the deliberate practice of interacting with others in a spirit of harmony. My youthful energy, which at 18 is often wasted in frivolous pursuits, would be channeled into this relentless quest for applicable wisdom. Now, possessing a definite aim and a plan to acquire the necessary knowledge is a powerful start, but there is a missing ingredient, the one element that breathes life into the entire enterprise. It is the eternal elixir which gives power and action to the impulse of thought. I speak, of course, of faith. At 18, faith is often mistaken for hope. One hopes things will turn out well, but hope is passive. Faith is an active, dynamic force. It is a state of mind that you can cultivate and develop through the principle of autosuggestion. With the wisdom of my 70 years, I would not wait for circumstances to give me confidence. I would manufacture my own. I would understand that my subconscious mind makes no distinction between a real experience and an experience that is vividly imagined and charged with emotion. Therefore, in addition to reading my definite aim daily, I would begin a rigorous, unceasing campaign of self-affirmation. I would systematically communicate to my subconscious mind, through repetition and feeling, the absolute conviction that I could and would achieve my goal. I would close my eyes and see myself as the person I intended to become. I would feel the confidence of that person. I would walk and talk like that person. This is not self-deception. It is the science of self-direction. It is consciously choosing the blueprint you wish your subconscious mind to build. Most people allow their subconscious minds to be programmed by haphazard suggestions from their environmenta, to critical remark from a parent, a discouraging headline in a newspaper, a friend's cynical comment. The result is a subconscious filled with limitations and fear. I would seize control of that process. I would feed my subconscious a steady diet of faith, courage, and purpose. I would recognize that faith is the head chemist of the mind. When faith is blended with a thought, the subconscious mind is activated. It takes that thought, translates it into its spiritual equivalent, and connects with infinite intelligence, the universal source of all power and wisdom. This is the mechanism behind answered prayer. It is the channel through which new ideas, inspired plans, and hunches are received. An 18-year-old waits to believe. The 70-year-old in an 18-year-old's body would decide to believe and then practice that belief with the same diligence he would practice a musical instrument until the belief became a hardened, unshakable part of his very being. This manufactured faith would become my shield against the temporary defeats and criticisms that I knew would inevitably come. It would be the inner engine that would keep me moving forward when the world told me to quit. No great success is ever achieved in isolation. The human mind needs contact and stimulation from other minds to grow to its fullest potential. This is a truth that is often lost on the young, who choose their companions based on proximity and common amusements. An 18-year-old circle of friends is often an anchor holding him to mediocrity, not a sail propelling him toward his dreams. With the foresight of age, this is a mistake I would never make. Immediately after establishing my definite purpose, I would undertake one of the most crucial tasks of my new life, the deliberate creation of a mastermind alliance. I define a mastermind as the coordination of knowledge and effort in a spirit of harmony between two or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose. I would carefully and thoughtfully select individuals to form this alliance. They would not necessarily be my closest friends, but they would be people who shared my positive mental attitude, who were ambitious in their own right, and who possessed knowledge or talents that complemented my own. I would seek out a young man with a mind for finance, another with a genius for engineering, another with a gift for sales. I would establish a formal agreement with them to meet regularly, at least once or twice a week. The sole purpose of these meetings would be to create and perfect plans for the achievement of our mutual and individual goals. I would insist on one absolute rule: perfect harmony. There can be no friction, no jealousy, no hidden agendas in a true mastermind. In an atmosphere of trust and shared purpose, something miraculous happens. A third, invisible mind is created, the masterminda psychic force that taps into a higher intelligence. Solutions to problems that seemed impossible to one individual become glaringly obvious to the group. Courage that was wavering in one member is bolstered by the collective faith of the others. A plan that was flawed is perfected by the combined brainpower and experience of the alliance. With this powerful group behind me, I would move with a confidence and a force that a lone individual could never hope to possess. The choice of your associates is one of the most critical you will ever make. To surround yourself with negative, cynical, or aimless people is to drink a slow poison. To align yourself with a positive, purposeful mastermind is to connect your personal battery to a vast, powerful generator. At 18, I would build my alliance with the same care and precision that a great architect builds a cathedral, knowing that it would be the very foundation of the empire I intended to create. With a definite goal, a plan for acquiring knowledge, unshakable faith, and a powerful mastermind alliance, all that remains is to ignite the entire apparatus with action. Here lies another great pitfall of youth: procrastination. The young man is always going to start tomorrow. He is waiting for the right time. With the bitter wisdom of 70 years, I would know that procrastination is the greatest and most insidious thief of dreams. It is the favored child of fear. The perfect time never arrives. I would not wait. I would start where I stand and work with whatever tools I had at my command, and I would know with certainty that better tools would be found as I went along. The first decree of my new life, issued from the throne of my mind, would be this: now, I would develop the habit of immediate decision and immediate action. Most people, even if they have a goal, hesitate at the moment of execution. They are paralyzed by the fear of making a mistake. The 70-year-old me would know that it is better to make a decision and act, even if the decision is wrong, than to dither in indecision. A wrong action can be corrected. Inaction leads only to decay. I would also understand the profound power of persistence. Persistence is the iron quality that distinguishes the person of great achievement from the daydreamer. It is nothing more than willpower in action. When you have a burning desire backing a definite aim, persistence becomes almost second nature. It is the ability to get up one more time than you are knocked down. The world is full of brilliant failures, men and women of tremendous talent who gave up just one step shy of the finish line. The 70-year-old me would know this. I would adopt the motto: a quitter never wins, and a winner never quits. I would know that every temporary defeat carried with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. So, when obstacles arose, when plans failed, when criticism rained down upon me, I would not see them as signs to quit. I would see them as nature's way of testing my resolve and forcing me to find a better plan. Persistence has a strange way of wearing down all opposition. It signals to your subconscious mind and to the universe that you are in earnest, that your purpose is not a passing whim. When you back your desire with that kind of dogged tenacity, invisible forces seem to come to your aid. People appear with the help you need. Doors open unexpectedly. Breaks you never could have planned for fall into your lap. This is not luck. It is the natural response of the universe to a mind that refuses to be denied. At 18, with this knowledge, I would be an unstoppable force, because my energy would be backed by the relentless, patient power of a river carving its way through a mountain of rock. One of the heaviest burdens of youth is the crushing weight of other people's opinions. The fear of criticism is perhaps the most paralyzing of the 6 basic fears. It causes people to abandon their dreams, to live lives of quiet desperation, to conform to standards and expectations that are not their own, all to avoid being talked about or ridiculed. A 70-year-old has learned that what other people think of you is, in the grand scheme of things, of very little importance. In fact, he often understands that criticism is a backhanded compliment. It means you are doing something noteworthy, something that stands out from the mediocrity of the crowd. With this wisdom, I would radically alter my relationship with both criticism and its cousin, failure. As I have stated, I would know that there is no such thing as failure, only temporary defeat. I would adopt this philosophy as my creed. Every time I stumbled, I would not allow myself the destructive luxury of self-pity. Instead, I would immediately begin a search. I would ask myself, where did my plan go wrong? What lesson can I learn from this? What is the seed of equivalent benefit hidden within this adversity? This single mental habit would transform every stumbling block into a stepping stone. Instead of being weakened by defeat, I would be strengthened by it, made wiser by it. The experience I gained from my temporary defeats would be my most valuable asset, the very knowledge that would make my ultimate success inevitable. Thomas Edison experienced over 10,000 temporary defeats before perfecting the incandescent light bulb. He did not consider them failures. He considered them 10,000 successful steps in eliminating what wouldn't work. That is the mindset of a champion, and it is a mindset I would cultivate from day one of my new life. As for criticism, I would immunize myself against it by the sheer force of my definite purpose. When your desire for your goal is a burning obsession, the whispers of critics become like the chirping of crickets in the distance, audible, but irrelevant to your journey. I would understand that people who criticize achievers are often merely projecting their own fears and jealousies. I would neither fight them nor resent them. I would simply outwalk them, so focused on my destination that I would not even hear them anymore. This freedom from the fear of failure and criticism would liberate my youthful energy to a degree that is unimaginable to the average 18-year-old who is a slave to the approval of his peers. Beyond these foundational principles, there are more refined habits of mind and action that the 70-year-old would immediately instill in his 18-year-old self. One of the most important is the habit of going the extra mile. The average person's philosophy is to do just enough work to get by, to collect their pay and no more. This is the philosophy of mediocrity. The 70-year-old knows that the surest way to become indispensable and to increase one's own value is to consistently render more service and better service than one is paid to render. I would not wait to be asked. In any position, whether I was an apprentice or an office clerk, I would make it my business to be the most helpful, most creative, and most valuable person in the room. This habit does 2 things. First, it brings you to the favorable attention of those who are in a position to advance you. They see that you are a person of initiative and purpose. But more importantly, it sets into motion the law of increasing returns. The effort you put out that is more than what is expected of you comes back to you, multiplied. You develop better skills, a sharper mind, a more attractive personality, and a reputation for excellence that becomes your greatest calling card. You are not working for your employer. You are working for yourself, building your own personal power. The second refined habit would be the deliberate cultivation of a pleasing personality. Success is not achieved by alienating people. It is achieved through winning their willing and harmonious cooperation. A young person full of vigor and ambition can often be abrasive, overly aggressive, or self-absorbed. The 70-year-old would know that true strength lies in grace. I would practice smiling genuinely. I would develop a firm handshake. I would learn to listen more than I speak. I would make it a habit to show sincere interest in other people. I would be tactful and diplomatic. I would control my emotions, especially the destructive ones like anger and vanity. A pleasing personality is not about being weak or subservient. It is about being so strong and confident in your own purpose that you can afford to be gracious and considerate to others. It is a form of magnetism that draws people to you and makes them want to help you. Combined with a definite chief aim and unyielding persistence, it is an irresistible combination. Finally, with the perspective of a full life lived, I would master the two resources that an 18-year-old treats with the most carelessness: time and money. I have already spoken of time, but I would formalize its management. I would plan my days and weeks with the same precision that an engineer plans a bridge. Every hour would have a purpose, whether it be for work, for study, for my mastermind meeting, for rest, or for recreation. I would eliminate time-wasting habits and people from my life with surgical precision. A 70-year-old knows that a lost hour is a piece of his life that is gone forever. I would treat every day as a miniature lifetime, to be lived to its fullest in pursuit of my aim. The management of money would follow a similar principle. At 18, money that is not immediately needed for necessities is often squandered on fleeting pleasures. With my 70-year-old wisdom, I would understand that every dollar is a potential servant, a seed that can be planted to grow into a fortune. I would immediately establish a habit of systematic saving, no matter how small my income. A definite portion of every dollar I earned would be set aside, not to be touched for consumption, but to be used as capital. This capital would be my war chest, the fuel for the opportunities I knew my definite aim would attract. The habit of budgeting and saving is not just about financial discipline. It is a discipline of the mind. It teaches foresight, self-control, and purpose. It is the tangible, daily practice of putting your future goals ahead of your present impulses. By mastering my thoughts, my actions, my relationships, and my resources, this new life of mine would not be a gamble. It would be a foregone conclusion. Success would not be a matter of if, but only of when. The journey from 18 back to 70 would not be a path of hope and fear, but a magnificent planned campaign of certain victory. You see, my friend, the power of this thought experiment is not that one might actually travel back in time. Its true power lies in the realization that you do not need to. You can borrow the wisdom of that 70-year-old right now. You can decide today to take control of your mind, to define your purpose, to build your faith, to choose your allies, to act with persistence, to learn from your defeats, and to manage your resources with care. You can begin this very moment to live the life that your wiser, older self would wish you had lived. The power to make these changes was not given to the 70-year-old. It was always there, waiting within the 18-year-old, just as it is waiting right now within you.